Welcome, my crafty friends. Do you struggle with layering your cards, design balance? This is the second of my how-to series, and I will show you in this video how to layer your cards like a pro with just a few little design tips. Are you ready to create some crafts? All right, the first thing I want to show you is a visual. This is a basic card. It's a lovely card. It's got some elements to it, but there is zero layering. Let's bump it up a little with some simple layering. And of course, a technique I'll show you next week or the week after that using some sandpaper and an embossing folder. But this is a whole nother video. But you get what I'm going at when we start to talk about layering. So let's start with our step one, which is cutting our layers. How do we do that? What size do we do that? How do we position them? And we're going to get to that. Be sure to listen to all three steps because I'm going to work with you and teach you all the tricks of the trade. Let's start with, to make this card, to make this layering card, let's start with the base, which is really 5.5 by 4.25. And it's going to be like a postcard. There's no folding on this particular base. Here's the next layer. It is the same color as the base. This is 4 1/8 by 3 1/8. So for today's card, we're going to be using a 1/8 reduction versus a 1/4 reduction. What am I talking about? Well, this is Dee Creates Crafts ruler. It's my cheat sheet, and this stays on my craft table. If you want this, I will email it to you totally for free, but it's got all these wonky little labels and wonky little measurements we're always struggling with. All of us are. My next step for you is to cut this layer. This is slightly different color. This is called bubblegum. It's 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. So 4 1/4 times 3 1/4. And this is going to go under the white Z-fold layer. Next, we're going to cut some designer series paper. This is going to be 5 1/4 by 4. This is going to be decorating our base. So I'm going to lay it right there to help me with my memory. This is actually a 1/4 reduction, and we'll talk about that in a second. And then for our designer series paper, we're going to cut two. We're going to cut one at 3 by 4. And then we're going to cut one at 2 7/8 by 3 7/8. And there we go with the wonky measurements. Now, one is for the outside fold, one is for the inside. So I'm going to teach you a little trick I did. On this one for the outside fold, which is the larger, the 3 by 4, can you see in pencil I wrote the word outside? These measurements are so similar. To just be able to eyeball it and grab it would be so much simpler. And this one goes on the inside. I wrote it in pencil. We're going to glue it and hide the writing. So just a little tip I use, kind of like a little cheat, but it'll go super fast and you'll thank me later. So we've got both of these. And then I want you to cut a basic white layer. Look at this. It's going to be 11 by 3 inches. Now, let's score this. So we're going to score it. If you've got this Stampin' Up! Thingamabobby like I do, it's got the two blades, a cutting blade and a scoring blade. So push your cutting blade out of the way, grab your scoring blade, and the first score we're going to do, I can see I already pre-did it, that's why I had to flip it, is going to be at 3 inches. Your second score is going to be at 7 inches. So that is your entire step one. And layering is simply adding pieces of paper or elements one on top of the other to build dimension, to build contrast, to build a visual flow. And this card is the perfect example of that. It's just mats with layers on top. Step two is what I call some assembly required. So we're going to build our elements. And right now I am stamping up with ink. Let me pull it out here. Layered with Thoughts. Aren't these precious? I just love the font on this particular stamp set. This again is a polymer stamp, so you're going to want to add a little bit of padding. I'm using my silicone craft sheet underneath your white layer. On the center, towards the top of your layer, we're just going to stamp. Hold it down, 2, 3, 4. All right, there we go. So we've got our stamped sentiment, and you're going to fold it with the mountain on the top. So it's your smallest of the little squares, let's call them, of your Z-fold will be towards the top. All right, so we've stamped our sentiment. The next thing we're gonna do is adhere our pattern layers onto our bases and our layers. So this one, let me show you. If we're gonna put it towards one of the quarters, you've got a 1/4 inch on this side and a 1/4 inch on this side. And then when you center it, you've got kind of your, what's the math on that, 1/8 around it. But that's what I call a 1/4 reduction when we are layering our mats. So that is our base. All right, we're gonna adhere this down on this layer. Got that layer down. And then this one I'm doing so it matches the front, what I call the base, top for this particular card, if you will. This has a direction, so I'm going to be careful to watch my direction. You want to make sure there's edges, almost like a picture frame around the entire. So you can see that's like 1/16, if you will. So this is a 1/8 reduction. It's going to fold up like this. What does that mean? This is going to go on top. Beautiful. Remember me when shopping for your craft supplies. The designer series paper I'm using is the Florals in Bloom. And then I've got the pretty matching bling. We've got the layered thought stamps. I've got this beautiful punch for you, some ribbon. Just, if you'll remember me, all the supplies that I'm using today can be found on my online store. And I'll put the link below for you. All right, let's adhere our Z-fold onto its own layers. Now here's the method to the madness, the secret to success. We want this to show. This is our front. So I'm gonna turn it upside down, and this is wonky. This is too small to fit that, but it's still gotta go on top. So we're gonna turn this whole heifer upside down, and let's line it up with below. Now there's still gonna be some edges around the side of the Z-fold. See how there's a little bitty bit of the Heather Highland showing. Flip it over and look, beautiful. There is our Z-fold. Now, when I first was assembling the card, I put it down like that. And for me, it was too much white on white. Watch, this is what I'm talking about. Because I have the white Z-fold, I felt like it was too much white because the major background of my designer series paper was white, and that's why I added this layer. And then the Z-fold, let's add some more Stampin' Seal. I'm gonna fold it up, and I'm gonna look down, and because just a barely bit of the pink is gonna show through to this side, but then when we open it, it's beautifully layered. Are you starting to see how the layers are coming to life? I want you to subscribe now before we start our last step, which is the decorating, just so you can find me again. Now, what I've done is I shared with you earlier the punch. So I have punched two shapes. I punched the lavender, and then I punched the white. And look, the little trick. You've seen me do this before, where you cut it in half and it just lengthens and add color to your label. So I've pre-stamped it, and I'm gonna put it towards the bottom. Let me bring in the sample card for you. Here's the original one. Here's the original one I made. So this is what I wanted to share with you. I just thought it was stinking cute. So I'm gonna come towards the bottom. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna fussy cut. So I fussy cut 2 flowers, popped one up, gonna pop the bottom up just to add a little layer and dimension. There we go. Then I've made a bow, so let's get us a glue dot. And let's add it beside the flower. Voila! So there's your difference. What do you think? What do you think? All right, here's the bling. So let's add us a little bling. This one I put it in the flower. I'm not sure this one it would look the same since I fussy cut it. Yeah, I kind of like it. I'm gonna do it. So that's all I'm adding. And these little flowers are fussy cut as well. So what do you think? You've got a Z-fold with lots of layering. I want you to remember 3 things. I want you to remember go like this, boop, and hit the thumbs up button. Then I want you to tell me if you would like this cheat sheet. Yes, the DD Creates Crafts ruler, but I've made something else for you. This is a card layering cheat sheet, compliments of DD Creates Crafts. It's got the basic layer sizes we talked about, the 1/4 inch reduction and the 1/8 reduction, and then some helpful hints at the bottom. But if you would like this, I will email this to you absolutely free. Card layering cheat sheet, and then my DD Creates Crafts ruler. I will give you both of these for free. You just let me know you want them. And then remember me when you're ordering your online supplies. Do you feel more confident with your layering now? Do you feel like you could do a 1/4 inch reduction, a 1/8 reduction, and just bounce up your skill level? I hope you learned something. I hope you had a blast, and thanks for watching.